everyone. Welcome back to my thoughts on movies and stuff. Today's video is on Orphan, a horror movie about a girl who deeply loves her daddy. A husband and wife who recently lost a baby adopt a 9-year-old girl who isn't nearly as innocent as she seems. Now the guys are ready to cut the fat, but before they grace the screen, why don't you like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified about every time we upload. Also, don't forget to visit our Patreon and let us hold $1. Hold on subscribing? Great. On with the show. Orphan. This movie kept taking me for a loop, as in the twists were pretty good. Yes and no. The twists weren't that good, but I am referring to the twists. Okay. We start with Kate's nightmare, which is, her bleeding out of her hoo-ha. She's being led down a hallway on a wheelchair, which at first made me think that this movie was going to be about the failings of the American healthcare system. Why would you think that? The nurse told her, your baby is dead. Bro, listen, I'm not a doctor, but that thing was very much alive. But didn't you see how the lights were whinging? I mean, that was obviously a nightmare. Bro, it's called Orphan. Maybe this kid that is clearly not dead lost her parents because the nurses kidnapped her under the guise of some sort of untimely death. But you were wrong. Unfortunately, instead, we get to see the worst possible reason for wanting to adopt I've ever seen. How so? She had a stillbirth and decided to fill the void she had with another kid. Who is she, Omni-Man? Yeah, that is pretty messed up. Huh, I guess I never thought of it like that. I can give you that point. Thank you. And another thing is, I don't really like the characters. I liked one, and I liked Esther. Until they ruined her. What do you mean they ruined her? She was terrible from jump. Nah, dude. When she wanted something, she made it happen. She was gangster. Unlike that spoiled, white privilege, Beatles reject looking waste of functioning organs and space looking Daniel kid. Okay. Whoa. That is a lot of contempt to feel towards a fictional child. He had it coming. The kid walked around like he owned the place. He was begging for a roasting. Besides, Jimmy Bennett put on a great performance, so my beef is with the character, not the actor. I just don't get it. How do you hate Daniel more than you hate Esther? Here's the thing. Until they ruined her, she was actually quite impressive. How? Watching Esther murder an adult as a 9-year-old girl and then hide the body, hide the evidence, and even hide the murder weapon. It's disturbing. Impressive. Impressive! I said what I said. Have you lost your mind? Some kids are born with natural talents and hers just happens to be unaliving people. But she's not a kid. She's a 33-year-old vertically challenged woman. But that's where they ruined her. You see, I was completely invested in this 9-year-old girl who was willing to do anything just so she could stay with her new family. And then she tried to kill them all. It just ruined it. I loved watching her and Maxine develop a real sisterly kind of love. That was cute. So true. So adorable. And Esther learned how to sign to speak to Maxine so quickly. Honestly, she was more of a sibling to Maxine than Daniel was. And I don't buy Esther's motives. Yes, I get it, she's crazy, but even crazy people have a certain way of thinking. They have a modus operandi. Why would she pretend to be a child just so that she could snuggle up close to a father and then be shocked when he doesn't take the pedo bait. Yeah, that's a serious flaw in her method. A flaw I think someone as intelligent as Lena wouldn't have. That is a solid point. Also, let's face it, if she was looking for pedos, she wouldn't have a hard time finding one, unfortunately. But I don't know, guys. What do you think? Was Orphan a deeply terrifying and traumatizing film? Or was it just an overzealous and insensitive disappointment? I think it's an interesting film, but there's a few things I feel like we need to minus points for. I don't like that they made Esther a 33-year-old woman who was just pretending to be a child, when this was just about a young girl trying to keep secrets and things hidden from the world so that she doesn't have to be torn away from her new family. I was so much more interested. I'd take anything. I'd take demon possession. I'd take a psycho young kid, but a full-grown woman? I was ready for the film to end with Esther getting the help that she needed. You know, her coming to terms with her situation. And I don't know, maybe the consequences of her actions being that she has to go to jail or a psych ward or something. But aging her up and giving her a daddy kink just felt completely unnecessary to me. Right from the moment that we meet Esther, I had a hunch that she was going to make moves on John at some point or another in the film, because the way she spoke was a little bit too mature for a child her age. And also this movie kind of reminds me and feels like Splice. Yeah, and we all know how that ended. You know what? If you haven't seen the movie Splice, do. You know what? Maybe don't. It's not for the faint of heart. And I just want to make it clear that I'm not saying that the aging up of Esther was done in poor taste. It wasn't at all. In fact, it was done in a pretty justifiable way. I just feel like the movie could have ended quite naturally without there needing to be the sexualization of a childlike character. I also have plenty of notes about John and how he is this trope of a lazy, unpresent father and that he only cares about Esther, but he is an extremely lazy and extremely stereotypical father, so any notes I have about him you've probably already heard before. Let's rather talk about him in the comments if you're interested. Also, I saw his death coming a mile away. I remember once he was just walking alone in the house, and I was like, at the beginning of the film, before Esther started going crazy, and I was like, this man is so oblivious, he's definitely going to die. Lastly, the performances were so dope. And I might have a few negative notes for this movie, but I really loved the performances across the board, especially with Ariana. I don't know if her name is Ariana or Ariana or Ariana, like Ariana Grande, but Ariana Engineer played the little deaf girl, Maxine, and Maxine was actually my favorite character. I feel like she brought a real depth to her character, and yeah, she was great. Loved Maxine. Isabel Fuhrman as Esther, of course, phenomenal performance. And the adults as well, of course. Peter Sarsgaard and Vera Farmiga, they were just... Am I saying these names right? Is it Vera Farmiga or Vera Farmiga? I don't know, but they were fantastic on screen as well. Rotten Tomatoes gave this film a 56%, which I think is actually way too low. And IMDb gave it a solid 7 out of 10, which I think is a little bit too high. Under normal circumstances, I'd give this movie about a 3.6 out of 5, easy. But because we're in spooky October, 2.4 out of 5. Although I felt a little bit more fear watching Orphan than I did this year's previous entries into Spooky October, overall I still wasn't incredibly scared, and that's why it's only getting a 2.4 out of 5. But that's all from me, guys. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified about every time we upload. After that, visit our Patreon and let us hold $1. And as always, a special thank you goes to the Patreon bros who you can see on screen. We appreciate you so much for supporting us. Thank you for believing in our content. Mwah. And with that, Spooky October is now over. Thank you for watching. If you guys watched this year and you watched all 3 episodes, I hope you have a very happy Halloween at the end of the month. And thanks for coming through and suggesting movies and just enjoying a little bit of horror with me. The next video will be on What If, and it'll be a normal video, so you won't have to worry about me threatening you. Or so you thought. I'll see you at the next video. Until then, try to stay alive. I'll be watching you. I'll always be watching you.